Hey, what is up, YouTube? My name is Matt Modi. I'm a content producer and betting analyst for OddsJam.com. Before OddsJam, my full-time job in the real world was as a data analyst, so I kind of used the math and data background and applied that to sports betting. I've been with OddsJam specifically since February of 21, so full-time with OddsJam. Pretty much since then, I have been a part-time sports bettor. My total profit using OddsJam is about just under 20K at about 19.3K. But one market specifically that I love betting on is the NBA, specifically NBA player props. So this video, I'm going to teach you how to make money specifically betting on the NBA player props specifically. So the screenshot that you see on the screen here is pulled from a certifiable bet tracker that syncs directly with your sports books. So there's no fudging that. And as you can see, in the year 2021, I was up 69 units. So for me, 1 unit equals $100. So I was up just under 7 grand specifically on NBA player props. Had a little bit of a downswing earlier in the year. As you can see, went right back up to end the year where it was now in the year 2022. So in this video, as I mentioned, I'm just going to teach you my strategy about how to bet NBA player props and how to make money doing so. So I figured the most important thing would be to share my screen. So this is taken from my OddsJam bet tracker. So you can see total profit 19K. The NBA is my most profitable sport by a wide margin. As you can see, about 17.7K of that is specifically betting on the NBA. So obviously, or I guess basketball. So obviously some sports not as profitable, baseball, hockey, soccer, tennis a little bit, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the NBA. So number one, my strategy towards betting on NBA player props. Number one, I like to bet using the OddsJam positive expected value page. So there are 2 tools that I use OddsJam to bet these NBA player props. One of them is the positive EV tool, as you can see on the screen here. Another one is the OddsJam screen, which I will explain in a little bit. But let's start with positive expected value. So if you're familiar with OddsJam, if you're familiar with the OddsJam YouTube channel, you probably hear a ton about me or Alex talking about positive expected value betting, but it's the most profitable way. It's the easiest way to make money betting on sports. As you can see from my profit by bet type, 10K of that is from positive EV, and then all of anything listed as normal is positive expected value betting as well. Sometimes I don't add it correctly, but 10 plus 3, 13K roughly is specifically from positive expected value betting. And the way it works, so in general, the literal definition of positive expected value is when you're placing a bet that you know as a sports bettor has a better chance of occurring than the reflected odds of the sports book. So I know that was a mouthful, so let me explain it. So the first part of that, we're placing bets that we know as the sports bettor has a better chance of occurring than the reflected odds of the sports book. So that first part, the odds that we know has a better chance of occurring. Okay, how do we know that? And it's all pulled from these no vig odds here. So this column here where you see no vig odds and then these odds you see under it. This is the most important part. This is kind of where the profitability of everything comes into play. So OddsJam, the way it works is OddsJam pulls lines from the sharpest sports books in the world. So like if I click open a play, we see odds range from minus 125 all the way up to minus 171. With odds that have that massive of a range, like 56 cent difference between one book towards the other, BetMGM in this case, Pinnacle, 56 cent difference for the same exact bet. You know one of those books has to be incorrect, right? They all can't have the same exact, they all both can't be correct. And one of the secrets of sports betting is that some sports books price odds better than others. So what OddsJam did was backtest thousands and thousands of betting opportunities specifically to determine what sportsbooks do the best job at pricing odds. And one thing that's cool about all of that backtesting is some sportsbooks are sharper towards specific markets. So in this video, I'm talking about player props, NBA player props specifically. Well, some sportsbooks do a better job at pricing NBA player props than other ones. And there are reasons for that, which which I have detailed in previous videos. The short of it is sportsbooks all have different limits in how much money they'll accept on a specific market. One market that sportsbooks will limit how much money they accept are player props. So the sportsbooks that have higher limits see more action have a so they see more action and therefore have more accurate odds that accurately reflect the market and what a market should truly be priced at. So OddsJam tested what sportsbooks are the sharpest, right? Over thousands and thousands of betting opportunities over a long period of time, and then use that data to make that determination. Say, okay, these X amount of sportsbooks consistently do the best job at pricing odds. And then what OddsJam does is they remove the VIG from those sports books using a weighted average, obviously giving heavier weight towards the sharper books. So there might be, let's pretend there are 5 sports books that are considered sharp. Well, if one of them is better than the other 4, then they're going to give heavier weight towards that one. And then they do this for every market, for NBA player props, NFL player props, hockey, whatever. It's a different formula in terms of who's sharp for each one. So the first part of that definition of positive expected value betting, bets that we know have a better chance of occurring. This is how we know, by calculating the no vig odds that pull up in these in this column here. So these odds can be viewed as the true line of what a market should truly be priced at. So here's a play that actually locked in, you can tell from the check mark. Jalen Williams over 17.5 points. It's bolded. It's got the blue rectangle around it saying, hey, bet me. It's like a huge alert saying, hey, bet me. So all the sharpest sportsbooks in the world price this at minus 130 odds. So that's basically how we know that the percent chance of this bet occurring. And then the reflected odds of the sportsbook is the bet that you are actually placing. In this case would be minus 120 odds at Betfred. So the sharpest sportsbooks in the world think that this should be priced at minus 130. Betfred is offering it at minus 120. That is the second part of that definition. So we know as the sports bettor, this bet should be priced at minus 130, and we're getting it at minus 120. So we know that this bet is going to occur at a higher percentage chance than the reflected odds that Betfred is giving us at minus 120. And then one thing that I find fascinating specifically about sports betting that might just fascinate me is all odds have a win percentage associated with them. So whenever sportsbooks are pricing odds, all they're doing is saying, hey, we think that this bet has an X% chance of hitting based on our models, our algorithms, the payouts that we've received. And then they convert that percentage into odds. And if you click this little calculator here, it gives you the win percentage of a bet. So minus 130.54 odds equates to a win percentage of 56.62. That is a percent chance that this bet is going to occur. And then what you can do is, if you want to see things in terms of percentages, you can find the percent chance what minus 120 comes out to. So all you need to do, go to calculators, no vig, fair odds calculator. No, sorry, wrong one. You go to calculators, odds converter calculator, excuse me. You type in minus 120. And there you go. That has a probability of 54.55%. Another way of thinking about this is if you place 1,000 bets, all of them at minus 120 odds, you need to hit at a 54.55% chance of breaking even. Any number that you hit above this amount, above 54.55%, you are profiting. Any number above this. So 54.6%, if you hit that over 1,000 bets, you are making money. And we know, based on the sharpest sportsbooks in the world, that this is going to hit at a 56.62% chance it has a 56.62% chance of hitting, I should say. So to bring back the definition of positive expected value betting, we're placing a bet that we know is going to hit 56.62% of the time, but it only needs to hit 54.55% of the time in order to break even. Any number above that, we are making money. That is positive expected value betting, and that is a very, very easy way to make money betting on NBA player props. Just bet positive expected value. With that said, I don't necessarily advise blindly betting every single play that shows up on the positive EV page. You want to do a little bit of additional work to make sure that you're placing the best of the best. And I don't mean work as in go check out his projections, go check out his trends, go check out his matchup, because all of that information are baked into the odds that the sportsbooks provide. They know all that stuff when they're making odds. What you want to do is compare the bet that you are placing to the odds of the rest of the sportsbooks. So you want to make sure, I should say, that the bet that you are placing and the odds that you are placing the bet at are a true outlier compared to all of the other sportsbooks. The logic being, generally, sportsbooks are pretty good. We'll have to give them credit. They generally do a pretty good job at pricing odds. But if one sportsbook is an outlier, and that outlier is in our favor as the sports bettor, and by that I mean has a higher payout, right? Like for minus 120 odds means you have to risk 120 to profit 100. 140 or minus 140 odds means you need to risk 140 bucks to profit 100. So this minus 120 is a higher payout in our favor. And compare that to the rest of the sports books, especially the sharp ones. So Pinnacle is the sharpest. They have it the most favored at minus 171. Then we have Caesars pricing it at minus 160, 11 cents better than the Pinnacle line. We have DraftKings pricing it at minus 140, kind of in between the Betfred and the Pinnacle line. And then Bet365, same thing, kind of in between the Betfred and the Pinnacle line. So this minus 120, one book is close at minus 125. The rest of them have it well above this number, telling us, the sports books are telling us that they think it's significantly more likely to occur, which is why this is a positive expected value bet in the first place. But the fact that we're getting an outlier is important because it should be, if it's showing up on the EV page, it should be an outlier, but you want to make sure to do that additional work. And then another thing that you want to do, so for a stat like points, rebounds, assists, like points, those are the main two. The numbers are going to fluctuate between the sportsbook, right? Not every single sportsbook is going to have his stat priced at 17.5. As we've learned, sportsbooks have different odds. That also means sportsbooks have different numbers in which they price player props at. So not every book is going to have this at 17.5. So if you view the event page in a new tab, it pulls up where every sportsbook is pricing their main line for this play. So where does every sportsbook price Jalen Williams over or under his points, rebounds, assists? And you want to make sure, so we are taking an over. So you want to make sure that the bet that you are placing is a truly, since we're taking it over, you want to make sure that all other sportsbooks, you want to see how they price it and make sure they price it above this amount. And as we can see, if a sportsbook doesn't price it at 17, they price it at 18, which you can see on these two, which is a DFS company underdog, or they price it at 18.5, which looks to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 sportsbooks price it at 18.5. So if we're looking at this from a holistic view, every sportsbook that prices Jalen Williams points, rebounds, assists either prices it at 17.5, but heavily favors it going over, except for Betfred at minus 120 and BetMGM at minus 125, or they price his prop above this amount. Either way, telling you that the over of this player prop is a good play, a really good play that you should take, which I did, as you can tell from the check mark. And that's what you want to do for every single play on the positive EV page. Not every single one is going to be an outlier. Not every single one is going to be good. So you want to make sure to do that research. One thing that's cool about OddsJam is you can filter specifically for NBA player props. So you just click the filters button, league equals NBA, market equals player prop, and now we're only looking at NBA player props. So you can filter specifically and then do the research from there. Like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Well, the odds changed. As you can tell, it tells you if the odds of the bet have changed. You can almost, so you know whether these odds are still positive EV or not, and it'll tell you if they've changed. Let's look at Kelly Olynyk over 2.5 assists. So the play is at minus 130 odds at Bet365. Let's see, Pinnacle prices it at minus 168. Pretty decently above this. BetOnline, another sharp sportsbook, kind of has it in between, right? They have it at minus 149, 19 cents higher than Bet365, about 20 cents lower than the Pinnacle line. And then look at every other book, minus 140, minus 140, minus 160, minus 160. No book has this below, looks like minus 140, which is 10 cents above the Bet365 number. So this is the kind of stuff that you want to look for. Is it truly an outlier or not? If the answer is yes, that's a good play. And if you do that more often than not, then you will be profitable. And then another way in which you can find profitable player props that I already hinted at is the OddsJam screen. So the way the OddsJam screen works, you just pick a market. In this case, I have NBA points, and it pulls up where every sportsbook is pricing their point total at for a specific player. So what you can do is just scroll down and compare the odds and where every single sportsbook prices a player prop to be, and then look for discrepancies. And I found a perfect example on De'Aaron Fox. So technically, De'Aaron Fox didn't show up on the positive expected value page as a positive EV play. The reason why, So one sportsbook has his over-under priced at 24.5. Look at every other sportsbook, 25.5 all the way up, or 26, all the way up to 26.5 on some sportsbooks as well. So this didn't show up on the positive EV page because literally no other book is pricing his point total at 24.5. So technically there's no other sportsbook to compare it to, but for that individual line, I should say for 24.5. But if you compare it to every other sportsbook, they're telling you that this is actually a really good play because they think that his point total should be priced 1 point higher than what we got it at. And not only that, some sportsbooks actually favor it going over this number as well, which is just insane. Like FanDuel prices the over at -112, prices the under at -108. We know as a sports bettor that the over is a higher number. It's more expensive. So that's the sportsbook telling you they think it's more likely. As does Caesars, as does BetRivers, as does DraftKings, as does the OddsJam perfect line. And this is pulled from Pinnacle. So every sportsbook is telling you that not only should it be priced higher than 24.5, but also that it's likely to go over 25.5. So this is another example of a really, really good NBA player prop that should be bet that I found using the OddsJam screen. So OddsJam screen, positive expected value betting, 2 ways to find really, really good player props. And then the last thing I'll say is I get a lot of questions about whether these should be placed individually or in a parlay. And I say both are profitable. My only advice would be if you do it in a parlay, scale your unit size down a little bit. So like if I'm doing 1 unit on a player prop, like $100, like I mentioned, is for me, but then I'm doing a parlay of player props, I might only put a quarter of a unit or a half a unit on it. You want to be a little bit safer because the risk is higher, but the payout's higher as well. So hopefully this video made sense. That's how I have been able to profit almost $7 grand making, or specifically on NBA player props using the strategy, positive EV of checking outliers and then using the OddsJam screen to check for outliers as well. But if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. You can reach me at on Twitter at JediModi, JEDIMODI, Star Wars fan. That's where that comes from. You can also send me an email, matthew@oddsjam.com. But that's going to be it. So other than that, I would appreciate if you could like the video. Helps me out a ton. Comment with your feedback if this is something that you enjoyed. If not, let me know what I could do better next time. And then if you could like, subscribe, comment. Those are the 3 big things. But that's it. So again, appreciate everybody watching and have a good one.